Hi, thanks for listening. I want to thank Doomrulls for sending me this link to this story. It's unfucking believable. It really is, honestly. Uh, it's one of those stories. I know it might me sound like a bad thing to say, but it makes me glad that I'm a white heterosexual man. You know, I mean, it just makes me glad. I'll explain in a minute, right? This is a headline of the story, right? The NDP, the New Democratic Party MP, files complaint about misogynistic attack from Tory senator. Right, that's the headline, and right away in the headline, this word misogynistic, right? I'm no comfortable with that word because I think misogynist covers it. I don't think you need to add the IC because you could easily say files complaint about misogynist attack. It doesn't have to be misogynistic. Anyway, that's just a wee thing that kind of annoys me about that word. New Democrat MP Charmaine Borg has formally lodged a complaint against Conservative Senator Jean-Guy Deganey, I hope I pronounced that right, or Dagenais, for what she describes as a condescending, misogynistic personal attack against her. Right, now that's the story, remember, this is a misogynistic attack, right? This is what this is, hey, I know you might think you've heard some misogyny in your time, but wait till you hear the flaming misogyny this guy, he's unbelievable. Anyway, Ottawa. A New Democratic MP has formally lodged a complaint against a Conservative senator for what she describes as a condescending, misogynistic personal attack against her. Charmaine Borg has asked the Speaker of the House of Commons to rule that her ability to do her job as an MP was impeded by a letter emailed to her last week from Senator Jean-Guy Dagenais. In the letter, which was copied to all MPs, senators and their staff, Dagenais characterised Borg as a whiny, ignorant, useless Quebec MP who was elected by fluke and stands little chance of being re-elected. Oh man, hang on a second, I think I'm going to pass out. That is the most misogynistic thing I've never seen. It didn't say one fucking word that was misogynist in any way. It didn't even mention anything about anything that's got anything to do with misogyny at all. Dagenais' letter was sent in response to a flyer Borg sent out in her riding advocating the NDP's long-held belief that the Senate should be abolished. Borg says she was particularly insulted by Dagenais' suggestion that she should get some books from the Parliamentary Library to inform herself about the Senate before criticising the institution. Borg, who is 23 years old, says that's the kind of old-school mentality that discourages young women from entering politics. The overall tone of this letter suggests that I am simply a little girl who does not take her work seriously, Borg told the Commons on Monday. Outside the chamber, Borg called the tone very misogynistic and added, I think if I was an old white man, he wouldn't have attacked me. The Speaker did not rule immediately on Borg's question of privilege. The rest of the story is just a load of shit, nothing really to do with that. But this is what I mean, right, about being a white hetero male, because I don't ever have that something to blame when things go wrong, or something to blame when somebody does or says something that I don't like. I have to accept reality and I have to accept responsibility. And that's good, that's healthy. I think everybody should do that. I kind of feel sorry for the other groups that are classed as victim groups, like the blacks, the gays, women. It's like, if something goes wrong with them, they can turn around and go, oh, well, it's because I'm a woman, or it's because I'm black, or it's because I'm gay. And they don't get to do that, reality check, that real reality check that, maybe you either aren't good enough, or maybe you have to hear those things, or, maybe you have to face reality. They just don't have to ever do that, because they can just go, oh, well, the only reason that person says that or does that is because I'm gay, or because I'm black, or because I'm female. And that's what this woman's doing here. Now, look at what she says, right? This guy says that she's whiny, ignorant and useless about her, specifically about her. Whiny, ignorant and useless, right? That sounds to me like all the credentials of a normal politician anyway, but she's saying that's misogynist. Now, not one word was said about sex, not one word was said about age, not one word was said about race. So what she's done, this is like a mini version of the slut walk. What she's done is she's taken something that somebody said, she's translated it into something far worse than it is, and then taken offence at her own translation. This is what the slut walker's done. The police gave them genuinely good advice to like 9 people. They took that advice, they twisted it about to make it sound like he said rape victims were to blame for being raped, and then they went away with that and got offended at that. They got offended at what they translated it to, and that's what this woman's doing, because she's saying it's misogynist. And the overall tone of this letter suggests that I am simply a little girl who does not take her work seriously. Well, it definitely suggests that you don't take your work seriously because you're useless and ignorant and whiny, but it does not at any point state that you're a little girl. It doesn't mention sex at all. There is no mention of sex at all, but she's taken it to mean that and then taken offence at this. And now she's saying, this guy's misogynist, but yet he's not said anything at all. She's just translated it into something misogynist. This happens a lot, by the way. It happens a lot. Well, it's not what he said, it's the way he said it. No, that kind of bullshit, you know. Oh, I get sexist overtones from that. Well, that's your fucking problem then, because he didn't say anything sexist. It also annoys me as well when... I bet you he could be really sexist if he wanted to, and he's probably thinking, God, I didn't even try, and you're fucking, you know, at least let him try and be sexist first before accusing him of it. Fuck's sake, man. But the other classic, this is why I'm mentioning race, because she says, I think if I was an old white man, he wouldn't have attacked me. You see, she's trying to play on this idea that old white men are privileged, you know, so anything they achieve, they can't get credit for because they were just privileged, you know. How great is that? In that old white men side with each other. They're completely oblivious to the fact, the cast iron fact, that old white men compete with each other. Not just get on with each other and look out and scratch each other's backs. They compete with each other as well. Fucking imbeciles. They're not all out for each other and waving a flag for each other. Fucking ridiculous. But if she was an old white man, he wouldn't have attacked her. So if he thought she was whiny, useless and ignorant, but she just happened to be an old white man, he wouldn't have said fuck all. Seriously, he just wouldn't have said. How pathetic is this? And then she says as well, this is the kind of old school mentality that discourages young women from entering politics. Well, first of all, I'd like to say here, right, that is an insult to women. This is what bugs me when people say being anti-feminist means you're against women. It very much means you're pro-women. I'm an anti-feminist, right? And what she's saying here, this old school mentality discourages young women from entering politics. To me, that's insulting to women. It doesn't discourage young women from entering politics. It discourages pussies and faggots from entering politics because they can't take criticism. It discourages them, and that's a good thing. Politics is a fucking hard world. It's dog eat dog. You're not going to get a nice fucking easy ride in politics. It's never happened to anybody before. It's not going to fucking happen to you, sweetheart. Fucking unbelievable, man. Discourages young women. How dare you say that young women are so fucking pathetic that they can't take a bit of criticism? How fucking dare you say that politics is too harsh and this environment is too harsh for young women? Young women are a lot stronger than you give them credit for. Fucking feminists are unbelievable, man. But hey, I am. This is one of those times. I'm glad I don't ever have that. If things go wrong for me, I have to just accept reality. If I get criticised, I have to accept that criticism. I can't be a pussy and go, oh God, it's because I'm white, or it's because I'm a man, or it's because I like women. It's ridiculous. It's fucking absolutely ridiculous, but it happens all the time, and I know that gays and blacks aren't doing it this time, but it does get done a lot, you know. You criticise somebody who's... But for the first 2 years of Obama's first term, for the first fucking 2 years, whenever anybody, even if they were black, said anything at all against Obama, criticised him in any way, shape or form, they always get accused of, well, we know what you think of black people, even though they were just criticising one individual person. Happens all the fucking time, man, all the time. Anyway, I'll leave it there for now. I'll leave a link to the story. And thanks again to Doomrolls for sending me this. It's exactly up my street. But I'll leave a link to the story anyway. Thank you for listening. Until next time. But this is what I mean, right, about being a white hetero male, because I don't ever have that it's something to blame when things go wrong, or something to blame when somebody does or says something that I don't like. I have to accept reality, and I have to accept responsibility. And that's good, that's healthy. I think everybody should do that. I kind of feel sorry for the other groups that are classed as victim groups, like the blacks, the gays, women. It's like, if something goes wrong with them, they can turn around and go, oh, well, it's because I'm a woman, or it's because I'm black, or it's because I'm gay. And they don't get to do that, you know, reality check, that real reality check that, you know, maybe you either aren't good enough, or maybe you have to hear those things, or, you know, maybe you have to face reality. They just don't have to ever do that, because they can just go, oh, well, the only reason that person says that or does that is because I'm gay, or because I'm black, or because I'm female. And that's what this woman's doing here. Now, look at what she says, right? This guy says that she's whiny, ignorant and useless about her, specifically about her. Whiny, ignorant and useless, right? That sounds to me like all the credentials of a normal politician anyway, but she's saying that's misogynist. Now, not one word was said about sex, not one word was said about age, not one word was said about race. So what she's done, this is like a mini version of the slut walk. What she's done is she's taken something that somebody said, she's tried. Hi, thanks for listening. I want to thank Doomrulls for sending me this link to this story. It's unfucking believable. It really is, honestly. It's one of those stories. I know it's make me sound like a bad thing to say, but it makes me glad that I'm a white heterosexual man. You know, I mean, it just makes me glad. I'll explain in a minute, right? This is a headline of the story, right? The NDP, the New Democratic Party MP, files complaint about misogynistic attack from Tory senator, right? That's the headline. And right away in the headline, this word, misogynistic, right? I'm no comfortable with that word because I think misogynist covers it. I don't think you need to add the IC, because you could easily say files complaint about misogynist attack. It doesn't have to be misogynistic. Anyway, that's just a wee thing that kind of annoys me about that word. New Democrat MP Charmaine Borg has formally lodged a complaint against Conservative Senator Jean-Guy Dagenais, I hope I pronounced that right, or Dagenais, for what she describes as a condescending, misogynistic personal attack against her. Right, now that's the story, remember, this is a misogynistic attack, right? This is what this is, hey, I know you might think you've had some misogyny in your time, but wait till you hear the flaming misogyny this guy, he's unbelievable. Anyway, Ottawa. A New Democratic MP has formally lodged a complaint against a Conservative senator for what she describes as a condescending, misogynistic personal attack against them. Get credit for, because they were just privileged, you know, how great is that? In that old white men side with each other. They're completely oblivious to the fact, the cast iron fact, that old white men compete with each other, not just get on with each other and look out and scratch each other's backs. They compete with each other as well. Fucking imbeciles. They're not all out for each other and waving a flag for each other. Fucking ridiculous. But if she was an old white man, he wouldn't have attacked her. So if he thought she was whiny, useless and ignorant, but she just happened to be an old white man, he wouldn't have said fuck all. Seriously, he just wouldn't have said, how pathetic is this? And then she says as well, this is the kind of old school mentality that discourages young women from entering politics. Well, first of all, I'd like to say here, right, that is an insult to women. This is what bugs me when people say being anti-feminist means you're against women. It very much means you're pro-women. I'm an anti-feminist, right? And what she's saying here, this old school mentality discourages young women from entering politics. To me, that's insulting to women. It doesn't discourage young women from entering politics. It discourages pussies and faggots from entering politics because they can't take criticism. It discourages them, and that's a good thing. Politics is a fucking hard world. It's dog eat dog. You're not going to get a nice fucking easy ride in politics. It's never happened to anybody before. It's not going to fucking happen to you, sweetheart. Fucking unbelievable, man. Discourages young women. How dare you say that young women are so fucking pathetic that they can't take a bit of criticism? Translated it into something far worse than it is. and then taking offence at her own translation. This is what the Slutwalker's done. The police gave them genuinely good advice to like 9 people. They took that advice, they twisted it about to make it sound like he said rape victims were to blame for being raped, and then they went away with that and got offended at that. They got offended at what they translated it to, and that's what this woman's doing, because she's saying it's misogynist. And the overall tone of this letter suggests that I am simply a little girl who does not take her work seriously. Well, it definitely suggests that you don't take your work seriously because you're useless and ignorant and whiny, but it does not at any point state that you're a little girl. It doesn't mention sex at all. There is no mention of sex at all, but she's taken it to mean that and then taking offence at this. And now she's saying, this guy's misogynist, but yet he's not said anything at all. She's just translated it into something misogynist. This happens a lot, by the way. It happens a lot. Well, it's not what he said, it's the way he said it. No, that kind of bullshit, you know. Oh, I get sexist overtones from that. Well, that's your fucking problem then, because he didn't say anything sexist. It also annoys me as well when... I bet you he could be really sexist if he wanted to, and he's probably thinking, God, I didn't even try, and you're fucking, you know, at least let him try and be sexist first before accusing him of it. Fuck's sake, man. But the other classic, this is why I'm mentioning race, because she says, I think if I was an old white man, he wouldn't have attacked me. You see, she's trying to play on this idea that old white men are privileged, you know, so anything they achieve, they can't... Charmaine Borg has asked the Speaker of the House of Commons to rule that her ability to do her job as an MP was impeded by a letter emailed to her last week from Senator Jean-Guy Dagenais. In the letter, which was copied to all MPs, senators and their staff, Dagenais characterised Borg as a whiny, ignorant, useless Quebec MP who was elected by fluke and stands little chance of being re-elected. Oh man, hang on a second, I think I'm going to pass out. That is the most misogynistic thing I've never seen. It didn't say one fucking word that was misogynist in any way. It didn't even mention anything about anything that's got anything to do with misogyny at all. Dagenais' letter was sent in response to a flyer Borg sent out in her riding advocating the NDP's long-held belief that the Senate should be abolished. Borg says she was particularly insulted by Dagenais' suggestion that she should get some books from the Parliamentary Library to inform herself about the Senate before criticising the institution. Borg, who is 23 years old, says that's the kind of old-school mentality that discourages young women from entering politics. The overall tone of this letter suggests that I am simply a little girl who does not take her work seriously, Borg told the Commons on Monday. Outside the chamber, Borg called the tone very misogynistic and added, I think if I was an old white man, he wouldn't have attacked me. The Speaker did not rule immediately on Borg's question of privilege. The rest of the story is just a load of shit, nothing really to do with that.